Imagine a world without Newsmax TV. That's the frightening prospect we broach in tonight's preamble. I am an American. I believe in American values. Even though I, as a conservative opinion host, have disagreed with the unfair, biased, and false reporting of the mainstream press, I never once called for any channel spewing left-wing propaganda to have their voices stolen from them or to have their voices and their views suppressed or taken off the air. Over the weekend, CNN's Jake Tapper interviewed H.R. McMaster and made a startling claim.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to get into a conversation about CNN. We have a whole show that does that called Reliable Sources, but I will say there are channels in which lies are told, and there are channels in which facts are told, and people who want the lies, they don't come here. They go to a different channel.
Tapper suggests that one tunes into CNN to get truth. He also alleges that folks tune into other networks to get lies. So let's put that to the test, shall we? There's a story that was published by the Washington Post accusing Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump of not allowing the Secret Service to use the restroom in their home. The Secret Service immediately identified this story as fake news, saying the story was false. But that didn't stop MSNBC from running with the story anyway.
May I ask you about the Washington Post report you may have seen relative to Ivanka and her husband Jared, that U.S. taxpayers have been paying $3,000 a month to rent the use of a toilet for both Ivanka and Jared and their family Secret Service detail after they were reportedly instructed not to use any of the 6 bathrooms inside the family home. Now, I will say the U.S. Secret Service is denying this report. They tell NBC News that they were not denied access and they do not request access to facilities at private residences. But this report, what do you make of this? Does it seem possible, given the Ivanka and Jared, at least the tenor of the report?
The report of their behavior is appalling. But this story is true. I mean, let me just tell you.
Okay, so the Secret Service says it's false, but they're going to go ahead and go with it anyway. Okay, thus far, Tapper appears to be correct. If you want unfair and inaccurate reporting, go to networks that are not CNN, those who have standards like MSNBC. But remember, Tapper said those who want lies don't go to CNN.
It's the Biden denialism is very real and widespread. So is Riot denialism, with people claiming that it was Antifa and all these other crazy lies instead.
On the Chris Salcedo Show, we have been clear to condemn the violence, any violence. We have told the truth that the vast majority of those at the Capitol that day broke no laws, and that a relatively small group broke away, vandalizing the Capitol. We mourned for the Capitol Hill police officer and the retired Air Force women who lost their lives. And we reported that at least one BLM and Antifa member was arrested. Now, in my opinion, after that little thing we call, an investigation is concluded, there may be more left-wingers implicated in the riot. But imagine if I and Newsmax weren't here to tell you the whole truth. You would be left with Stelter's inaccurate version of events, having no choices. That's what some are calling for.
People have so much choice now. They can choose what their news sources are. They can choose what influencers they want to follow. In that we have given a lot of leeway, both in the traditional media and on social media, to people to have a very broad range of political views. One of the places you can see this is on the fact that you now have competitors to Fox News on their right, OANN and Newsmax, which are carried by all the major cable networks, who are trying to now outflank Fox on the right, because the moment Fox introduced any kind of realism into their reporting, immediately a bunch of people chose to put themselves into a sealed ecosystem. And they can do that both on cable, they can do it online, and that becomes a huge challenge of figuring out how do you bring those people back into the mainstream of fact-based reporting and try to get us all back into the same consensual reality.
Same consensual reality according to whom? And as we just showed you, CNN sometimes lies. Stamos, a former security chief at Facebook, is a man of the left, and he shows concern that Fox is being outflanked to their right, as if conservatism is somehow criminal, but he shows no concern for MSNBC, a network that arguably outflanks CNN to their left. Mr. Stamos is a man of the left, and he seems to be alleging that conservative thought is somehow dangerous, which it's not. And he laments that people who have too many choices out there, that can't be allowed. He doesn't like the fact that you have other places to go to get more accurate reporting than CNN. He also seems to be very concerned about conservatives communicating their ideas to one another. It's crucial to remember that after the country witnessed a violent 2020, a year where liberal BLM and Antifa rioters burned, looted, beat, and killed their way through our streets, there was no talk of restricting the left wing's ability to communicate. Nobody on the left was suggesting making liberal views less available. But after the Capitol Hill attack, conservatism is now being targeted. Mr. Stamos has a solution to address his concerns over conservatives.
We have to turn down the capability of these conservative influencers to reach these huge audiences. There are people on YouTube, for example, that have a larger audience than daytime CNN. And then we're going to have to figure out the OANN and Newsmax problem. You know, that these companies have freedom of speech, but I'm not sure we need Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, and such to be bringing them into tens of millions of homes. This is, allowing people to seek out information if they really want to, but not pushing it into their faces, I think is where we're going to have to go here.
Oh, I see. By Newsmax simply existing on cable as an option for you to watch, according to Stamos, that constitutes pushing it into their faces. Now, why doesn't CNN and MSNBC's presence on cable constitute pushing their programming into conservatives' faces? Apparently, Mr. Stamos has never heard of a little device we call a remote control. This little thing allows Americans to change the channel if they don't like what's on. But that's just the point, isn't it? Stamos, CNN, and other left-wingers, they don't want to allow you the freedom to choose. They want to give those who spew leftist ideology and worldviews exclusive rights to talk to the American people. And if you don't agree with them, well, tough. You have no other place to turn. The socialists' cancerous cancel culture is going to make it difficult, if not impossible, to get informed and consider a different point of view if it runs counter to the American left. Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, and other big tech folks colluded to prevent conservatives from sharing their ideas. Now, Stamos and CNN want to do the very same thing to American television. That way, we can all think alike. That way, we can all sing from the same hymnal. That way, we don't know the difference when CNN or MSNBC is lying to us. And with no divergent thought or ideas that challenge the ministry of truth, we can all live in harmony. We won't be free. We won't know the truth, but we'll have harmony. Newsmax, Fox, CNN, and MSNBC each covers news differently. We reflect the myriad opinions that exist in our nation. Mr. Stamos and I may see a story and have two different perspectives. That used to be okay in America. Well, not now. Mr. Stamos wants to stop your ability to watch your liberty-loving Latino and prevent me from sharing my opinions and analyses with my fellow Americans. Tell me, do you want to live in that America? An America where disagreement with liberal thought isn't allowed? If you answer yes, you may be an authoritarian. If you answer no, you just may be an American, or at least support American values. An America without Newsmax would be a darker America indeed.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.